Welcome to Innovative Strategies with Bill Hasse. Innovative Strategy is a show designed to help people with their business and personal financial literacy, but not in the way that you have known. This is not your grandpa's financial literacy, as Bill uses his 30-plus years in the financial industry to stretch your financial box from, let's say about a 30,000-foot view of things. Bill and his guests have helped hundreds of clients achieve and surpass their financial goals. If you have any questions, please email Bill at bill@billhasse, that's bill@billhasse.com, or reach out to him right here at 216thenet@gmail.com.
Good morning, Sam. How you doing?
I'm doing good. It's great to be here.
Well, thank you for stepping in and helping us out and being a contributor to the show. Everybody who's a part of it, I call contributors because we all work towards the same goal.
Absolutely.
And I greatly appreciate that because today's kind of a special day. But before we get to our guest, I do want to do a special shout out. We had our friend Laura Di Benedetto, who has been on this show in the past, is putting on a class, offering a class in learning about LinkedIn. And I'll be honest, I'm very weak on LinkedIn. I've never thought of it as a great tool or something that worked for me. Never took the time to learn about it and realize Laura has a program that can teach you to go in from 0 to 6-figure income through the use of LinkedIn and all that LinkedIn has to offer. So anybody who's interested in participating in that kind of a class, please reach out to me at bill@billhasse.com or at 216thenet@gmail.com. And we can get links to you. We can connect you in so that you can learn that LinkedIn is so much more than most of us think of it right now. But and that's it for that today. But let's bring in Erin Marcus. We're so privileged and honored to have her here. She is probably a world-renowned business strategist and consultant. She's an author. She's just like all-around everything kind of woman in the business world and does great things. So, Erin, thank you for joining us today. Welcome.
Thank you. I sound so fancy when you put it all out there like that. Thank you for having me.
Well, it's things that I've learned. We know a lot of the same people, mm-hmm. and we run in similar circles and everything. And your name always pops up. And when your name pops up in the groups that we're involved in, that's a big deal. That's a big deal. So, when you talk to others, just remember to keep bringing my name up.
I'll just keep talking about you. Got it. On it.
Fill us in a little bit. Who you are? What you have going on?
My fancy marketing speech here. Okay. Erin Marcus, founder and CEO of Conquer Business. What do I have going on? I do business strategy and business consulting, go-to-market strategies, business model strategies that help business owners get out of the situation where they've created this business around themselves as the expert. And now they can't figure out how to grow and scale that business because they're out of hours in the day. They're out of days in the week. Mm-hmm. Right? And how do you learn how to do different work, not more work? Because the last thing those people need is more work.
Just ran into a business owner the other day with that problem.
It's brutal, right? And the way that I describe it is so many of these people think that this is a nice little journey of business ownership and we're going over a bridge and there's a creek underneath and there's it's a nice little stream and a grassy knoll. And in truth, it just feels more like the Indiana Jones Bridge, right? It's on fire. There's a guy with a sword at the other end and
a stone boulder coming at you from behind.
Exactly. And the heartbreaking part is what happens is people retreat and they end up with the business. They settle. I like to use that word really intentionally. They settle for the business they think they can pull off instead of the business that they want, just because they can't figure out how to get there. And
what a terrible feeling. I know the feeling. I've been there. Yeah. And I think any entrepreneur, solopreneur, it will get to this point if they haven't already, because nobody is taught how to go from concept to full success, full-blown, multi-million dollar business. We just don't know. We're not taught that. and we have to wear all these hats, so we kind of get wrapped up
Right.
in the daily machine, right?
The machine. And one of the things that you just said that is such a key point. It doesn't really matter if you're a consultant and you're at 300K wanting to get to 500, or if you're a logistics business and you're at 1 million and you want to get to 5 million. The problems are the same. The numbers start to sound more impressive.
Yeah.
But the reason for the problem and the way to get out of it, it's really very similar.
You know, I'm a big promoter of money should never be a goal.
Oh,
Money should always be thought of as a tool, and the tool can be used to achieve goals. But you want to get from 3 million to 5 million. Okay, it's the 5 million is the result of the efforts, the result of the work that's put in, the result of the direction that you take, the strategy that you put in place, right?
Well, and the problem with money being the goal, because I ask people, I meet 10 people, new people a week, and one of the questions I'm always asking them as business owners, what are you trying to do? What are we doing here? And 99.9% of the time the answer is a number. The answer is a number. I want a $1 million business. I want a $5 million business. I want a $25 million business. The problem is that is absolutely no information. There's no information with that number. That'd be like me I'm trying to get a deck or a screened in porch built on my deck right now. That would be like me going to the contractor and saying, I got 20 grand to give you. And him saying, well, what do you want? Well, I don't know. I just have 20 grand to give it. Well, do you want electricity? I don't know. I just want 20 grand. I just want it to cost $20,000. So when your only piece of information is a number, I can build $1 million business a million different ways, and they're going to be very different businesses.
Well, it sounds like buying a car. You go into a dealership and the first thing the salesman's going to ask you is, well, how much are you looking to spend? And you can say 20 grand, or you can say, I don't want to spend more than $350 a month. And you've just given them carte blanche.
Right. You've now told them. You ever notice when you say, I want to spend 30 grand on a car, they don't start showing you $20,000 cars, by the way.
Right. They start showing you $40,000 cars.
Right.
You want to go buy a house. You talk to the realtor and you're like, well, I can afford a $200,000 home. And they start showing you $280,000 homes, right? Because they want you to say, well, this is what you get for this money, and you're not going to get that. And so we all wind up overbuying, overburdening ourselves with debt. And again, this is where, to me, the most important thing is if you got to have a budget. You got to understand how you spend money. And this is true in business too, right? You have to know your fixed costs, your variable costs, right? And you have to be able to plan, this money set aside, this is what's required for me to maintain this business. And here's what I have left over. What am I going to do with that?
Well,
and it's not usually one answer. And
it's also the reason that mindset, that thought process is also the reason so many business owners get stuck, unable to grow their business, because especially for those who are finally starting to see a return on their effort, if you're starting to finally make money, you don't want to give it up that quickly, right? No. And so they look at everything as an investment that is going to eat into the money that they're finally making, instead of understanding that it has to be reverse engineered. You have to start with what it is that you want and reverse engineer. How do I wiggle this all up together? Top line revenue, right? Wiggle up the expenses with the top line revenue so your profit margins stay, if not improve. Because to your point, the number is irrelevant. I know a lot of people with a $500,000 business, and it's costing $502,000 to get there, right?
Yes. But I have a $500,000 business.
Right. Vanity metrics, right? I have $1 million business. Yeah, business cost.
And I'm still driving
right out of Shark Tank. That's right at it. Like, if you ever watch that on Shark Tank, when they start asking people, and the contestants, for lack of a better word, their eyes light up when they start talking about their sales. Yeah. Until the sharks start asking them, well, how much debt do you have? Well, what's your cost of client acquisition? Like, what is your
Yeah, what?
How
Yeah,
much What's
exactly.
your landed product cost? And all of a sudden the glimmer goes down.
Yeah, exactly. And it's they start digging in. I'm not a big. I like Shark Tank, but some of the deals that they try to cut at the end, they make it complicated just to.
Oh yeah, the thing I love about Shark Tank, and this is what I tell people all the time, go listen to the questions that they're asking. Forget
Yeah.
about the deals. Go
Yeah, right.
listen to the questions that they're asking, and can you answer them about your business?
Yeah, and instead, those folks on the show, they're looking at the dollars, right?
Right.
They're looking at the numbers and the money. And again, I'm just a big proponent of the money is not a goal. Look, I told you I spent 20 years in the trading pits. There is nothing else to do in a trading pit than to chase the almighty dollar. Did that make everybody happy? No.
No, I mean, we've seen the movies. It gave them all cocaine habits. I mean,
Suicide,
seen the
drug
movie.
overdoses, drinking themselves to death. We could go on and on and on. Yeah, those are good movies, by the way.
I didn't say they were bad movies.
I'm not here to deny the fact that there's some accuracy to those lifestyles, but so we talk. You and I have talked a little bit, and I know you like to focus a little bit on KPIs with key performance, indicators. It is very important. I've done a number of business valuations, and with those valuations, we add in 15 pages of KPIs.
Well,
How are you performing
and
in
it's
your
not
industry?
right, but it's also, I think, one of the mistakes people make. Like the first step is knowing your numbers.
Yeah.
But the second step is what are you doing with those numbers? Because I think there's a lot of people who are like, well, I'm tracking all my numbers. Yeah, but are you doing it in a way that allows you to use those numbers as a leading indicator instead of a lagging indicator?
Ooh, key.
Right? Like the sooner you can catch and rectify a problem, the better off you are, because you're not going to not have problems. Like that's not a thing. That's not how this works. That's not how any of this works. Like you're gonna have problems. Things are not gonna work.
A thing.
Most things are not gonna work. So are you tracking your numbers in a way that allows you to catch the problem sooner? Because it's really, I use a lot of visuals. So my big thing is, what are the bumpers in my gutters? Can I have bumpers in my gutters so that A, I'm not quitting 3 feet from gold, but B, I'm not throwing good money after bad, right? If we were to put those bumpers in my gutters, I don't want to give up too soon, but I don't want to, bang my head against the wall. And the goal for my visual here, the goal is to get those bumpers as close as I can to each other, because the thing that's happening in between those bumpers is a pendulum. The pendulum is swinging back and forth in between. That's business, right?
I feel like I'm putt-putt golfing.
Right, exactly. We're wiggling our way down the lane. The more narrow your bumpers, the less it hurts when the pendulum hits you.
I love that. But let me ask you this. Most solopreneurs and small startups, small businesses, even some medium-sized businesses, don't know jack about their management finance sheets.
Well, why would they? That's not why they went into business.
No, you're right. And look, I'm the first one to tell you that nobody is raised to understand money, right? So we're never taught that anyway.
This by trial. You learn this by fire. Unfortunately.
Yeah, mom and dad send you to college. You go out in the real world, and they said, "Have a great life." Oh, by the way, hope you know how to buy a car and buy a house, and good luck with all of that. And all the other things that come with life. But business owners and solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, they're the same way. I have a friend, a neighbor that owns a business, and he said, I said, how much do you charge to send trucks out for a service call? He goes, oh, $70. I said, okay, how much does it cost you? And he looks at me blindly. And he's like, I don't know. I'm like, how do you not know? I go, how do you base what you charge?
How do you know what to charge?
Because that's what the industry standard is.
Well, why are we going for standard first?
Yeah, now you're selling by price.
That's my first question.
Yeah.
Right. But to me, I have all the empathy in the world for people who don't know this, right? The architect started their firm because they loved being an architect, not because they loved
Doing
accounting
the books.
and CFO work, right?
Yeah.
Now, however, choosing to stay with the ostrich approach to building your business is gonna get you the ostrich egg results from growing your business, right? Like,
Yeah.
I have no issue with people not knowing this. Your responsibility, if you want to be successful, the requirement, the fee for entry, if you were, is to learn all sorts of things you didn't know you're going to have to learn, and invest your time and money and effort into learning how to be the business. And a lot of people don't do it. One, because they think it's hard, but you already know how to do hard things. And it's honestly not that hard. You find good people who know how to do this. And
Right.
the other reason is they think, especially with the subject matter expert, the lawyer, the CPA, the architect, the photographer, they feel that doing these things are going to take them away from doing the thing that they love. And it doesn't actually have to be that way.
And it makes complete sense. Sam, you had a
Yeah, I got a question for that. Let's say you are a solopreneur or you are starting out in your adventure and you do track the numbers. My question would be, how do you know where to put those bumpers?
Sure.
Where do you find that information as to where the bumpers even go in the first place? Yeah, you're tracking it, but what is a good standard?
That's a great question. And I do very, very, very simple back of the napkin math for this. My overall goal in a service-based business is a third, a third, a third. A third of the top line revenue goes towards running the company, including marketing and client acquisition. A third of the top line revenue goes for team, which is a service-based business's version of cost of goods sold, truthfully.
Right.
Okay.
And then a third of the top line revenue goes for profits. So that's one of my very simple, that's actually a healthy business model. I have never grown or run a business that hit those numbers and wasn't okay, because those numbers allow for investing in growth.
It's a good starting point.
It's a great starting.
Yeah, you can always narrow that lane, like you
You
said.
narrow the lane, but if you're asking me as a solopreneur gets to double dip because they get paid as a team member and they get the profits.
Right.
You're not going to go out of business with that business model. So the second piece, though, it's like, if that's the top line and that's how we figure out how to build, to your point earlier, if that's what the model we use to figure out how to price our services, the second thing I'm looking at is client acquisition costs. What are the costs of acquiring a lead? What are the costs of acquiring a client? And we do that by having a well-rounded go-to-market strategy, a well-rounded marketing strategy, where we're able to track to make sure we're not falling down the rabbit hole where 80% of our efforts, and especially again for a solopreneur or a small business, I'm not just talking money, I'm talking time, I'm talking energy, I'm talking emotional toil. If 80% of your client acquisition efforts are only producing 20% of your clients, we got to stop that.
Yeah. It's funny. You remind me of a story. I have an old neighbor. He's moved away since. Worked for a Fortune 100 company, head of a sales group. And we would have discussions from time to time. And he came to me and said, well, we think we solved our problem. We've added 3 steps to our sales process. And I just laughed. I go, well, how many steps do you have now? I guess like 14 steps now. And I go, you added 3. I said, so you added 3 more. I go, at what cost?
Yes.
Both financially and time-wise.
Yep.
I said, that doesn't make a lot of sense to me, to add on to a system that you don't feel is working well for you. So we'll just make it even harder.
Just make it harder, right? And I see this like an understanding.
Fortune 100 company. He came back, we scrapped it.
And it goes to what I said in the beginning. I don't care how big and fancy your numbers are. The problems are the same.
Yeah.
Things get complicated by accident. You ever notice that? I got fat by accident. I wanted to be healthy. I didn't get healthy by accident, right? Things get
I love the commercials that say it's not your fault.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is.
Right.
I'm on a new, under too much information. I'm on a new medical, I had a few issues. I got a doctor. The doctor's asked me how everything's working. This is improved. That's improved. And she said, well, how's the weight? I go, I don't know. I haven't tried yet. We don't know if the medications worked or not because I haven't stopped eating Bueno beef that they opened on the corner, right? It is my fault.
That new food truck out front is not helping.
This is not, I don't know if that, I feel better, but.
Let's take a moment because how can folks reach out to you and understand, maybe get a little time with you and understand more about what you're doing? We'll say more as the show goes on, but what's the best way to reach out?
So first of all, everything is at that website. We're going to make it really easy. It got linked to my socials, linked to my podcast, a bunch of free resources, and a connect with me button. So you can get everything you need at conqueryourbusiness.com. And if you don't even want to take that intermediary step, you can just go straight to Aaron at conqueryourbusiness.com, and that will come straight to me.
Outstanding. So
happy to chat with people, by the way. Like, the thing that I guess you and I, because we know a lot about this, and for some really weird, unexplainable reason, we get excited about these topics, right? Maybe we've got that weird nerd business thing going on.
Right.
The great news is 90% of the time we need tweaks, not overhauls. It's not about doing more work. It's about different work. So if we're starting to be like, holy buckets, backing away slowly here, don't lean into it. Ask the question. You'd be surprised at huge differences that you can actually make with just a couple tweaks to what you're doing.
We like to promote the fact that there's a solution to every problem out there.
Yes.
But yeah, we tend to, some of us we all have different abilities, right? So, we have a concept, we have a great idea, and maybe we even know how to get started. Maybe we even know where to go get help to get started. And that's a smart move, by the way. Don't try to do everything yourself because you're not good at everything. So
I suck at a lot of things.
Remember the old days when they used to say, work on your weaknesses
No.
because your strengths are your strengths? It's like, okay, now forget the weaknesses, get somebody else to do what you're weak at because they're good at it.
Right. Hire people.
Yeah, hiring the right people, but it's a challenge, and like you talked about with the Great Walkout, that's when we've switched this show more towards the entrepreneurial minded folks and how we can help them and how we can point out the issues, concerns, problems that you're going to run into throughout every step of the process. Because the reality is, if you start a business, you have over 100 hats.
Yeah.
We had Joe Rojas on the show, and he showed us he had like 108 different hats a business owner has to wear. Really, you can't name 20. So don't think you can take on 108. Bring on the good people that can help you out. You have to monitor them. You have to watch them as well, though, especially CPAs or anybody handling any of the money in your business.
Well, and I think that's one of the mistakes. That's one of the areas I watch a lot of business owners make this mistake, where the way that I describe it is they're scared of hiring. They're just absolutely terrified of it. They believe the media telling them that there's no one out there who wants to work, which is so not true. And so what they do is they hire for task rabbits instead of hiring for horsepower. And when you hire task rabbits, all you do is replace doing the work with managing the person. And I don't want to do either of those things. I hire people who will help me drive my business forward.
So I have a question. I wonder why I don't interview a lot anymore and haven't for years, but when I was interviewing, nobody ever came to me and said in an interview, here's what we do, here's why we do it. Is that something you can buy into? Is that something that goes with your philosophy in life?
Well, yeah, but you and I grew up getting jobs in a different generation.
Oh, true.
And maybe corporate still, it's been a hot minute, maybe corporate still runs that way. But I am very, very direct and open when I'm interviewing people and I say, listen, if you're the type of person who needs to come in and know exactly what you're doing every day and how to do it, you won't like working with me because we are creating constantly. And
Yeah.
I don't babysit. I'm looking for someone to question why I say what I say so that we can come up with a better version of it. I don't hire
Well,
people to just check a
no
box.
offense, no offense, but I think that's still rare.
Maybe I'm just weird.
I don't think that's the norm. I think there's still that
Makes my life
hardcore,
easier.
we're just trying to fill a position. If
Yeah, but I
you
think
know,
they're doing it out of fear.
yeah, as
Well,
long, can you fog a mirror? Okay,
right.
we'll
Well,
give you a shot.
and that's why, especially in the small business world, you don't have the margin of error to do it that way.
Yeah, there's no
Corporate,
luxury.
fine. Right. In corporate, that's fine. They got 5 people doing the work of 2 people, and sometimes they have 2 people doing the work of 10 people, and it's all a hot mess. And there's a really good reason I'm unemployable at this point. But in small business, you don't have the luxury of redundancy. You should build some into it, but
Yeah.
in general, you don't have, I mean, and for me personally, maybe it's just because of what I do for a living, because I do business consulting and coaching, because, you know, if you look at my strength finders, 5 out of my top 10 traits are under influencer. I love nothing more than motivating people to do things they didn't think they could do. I mean, it just lights me up to be able to show them a path and help them go do it. So to me, the people I hire, my goal is to create that same experience for them. Let them create their entrepreneurial dream job in my brand.
I love that because you're helping people still to remember the fact that they did this, they started this, and they're doing this because they loved
They
it.
want to, right?
They want to. It's their passion. They feel driven to do it.
Yeah. If all you want is a paycheck, small business is not a great place for you.
No, it's not. It's a little bit of a roller coaster ride. Because when you talk about a third, it's like, okay, but I'm only making $1,000 a month right now, so $333 isn't going to do me a whole lot of good here. Other than the fact that I control $666 because I'm a solopreneur.
Because I'm a solopreneur. Woo!
I get 2/3.
Right. Well, and again, I said that was a goal, maybe not a launching point.
No, no, I agree. It's and I love what you do. I really do, because you are passionate about what you're doing. But you're brilliant at what you're doing. You have your book. I have it here. I'm talking about the end is only the beginning.
That was so that's an old book that I wrote. That's funny that you bring that up. So in my origin story, my fancy title before I left corporate was Senior Vice President of Business Development for the largest long-term care insurance wholesaler in the country. Means 0 things to people you know what it is. It means 0 things if you're not in the industry. But What I did was I created relationships between banks, broker dealers, financial planning groups, and the insurance companies that produce long-term care insurance. My company that I was part of was the middleman in between those 2 entities.
Okay.
So because I was so immersed in long-term care insurance, I thought when I went out on my own, the first thing I did was go into the franchise world. I jumped off half a cliff, not the full cliff. I jumped off half a cliff.
It hurts just as much.
It hurts just as much. And the franchise was working with families with aging parents because I figured, well, that's just the exact same as what I did in corporate. What could possibly go wrong? But I knew the marketplace and I did well. I mean, I got my office to the top 10 out of 200 offices in about 18 months. But it wasn't because I loved aging parents so much. It was because I knew how to build a business.
Okay.
During that time, and this is why it's kind of relevant now, which is so funny, I wrote a book called Talking About the End is Only the Beginning, because remember, the background was long-term care insurance.
Yes.
So what I did in corporate was I did these big fancy deals, and then I would go to the annual meetings and do breakout sessions for the advisors where I would teach them why long-term care insurance was so important for their clients' portfolio and how to talk to their clients about it. So in summation, I taught financial planners how to sell a product they hated to people who didn't want to talk about it.
So I wish I could have known you back then. Well, because I was a certified long-term care specialist.
Yes, the CLTC.
So yes, and I understood the value and importance of it. I also thought of there's other ways.
There's other ways.
There's other ways to skin that cat.
There's new products are much better, but it's
it's
huge.
So, okay, well, that's my research department. Going back in time.
But it's also very relevant, and here's why. And I did write, and it's a free book actually now, and it's out on our resources page. One of the things I learned, not just as I grew up with in Chicago public schools in the 70s and 80s with people from 22 different countries. So I learned how to communicate with intent with people who didn't speak English. And I have a journalism degree. And I learned how to communicate with intent and ask questions. And then I worked, through a few things, but really landed in that arena of aging and the conversations we have to have about planning for aging. So again, communicating with intent with people who don't necessarily want to talk about it. And the book that I wrote for a marketing perspective, and it's free, it's out on the resources page. It's just an ebook. I wrote Connect as a Human First. Connect as a human first.
Nobody teaches that.
Like this is it.
Sales. Are you listening?
This marketing, sale, and I'll give you the dumbest example. I can spend so much time and energy and effort curating content for social media that nobody cares about. It's like a pick me battle out there with the other consultants.
Yeah.
However, I volunteer at a wildlife rescue. I can post one picture of me looking absolutely disgusting, getting jumped on by squirrels, battling with raccoons, or getting startled by a possum. And that's what everybody cares about. Connect as a human first.
Yeah.
Your story about your friend who added 4 more steps to a 70-step mark, they lost it. Where was the human connection in that process?
Exactly. And it this is rampant in the financial world and financial advising and insurance and sales and things like that. It's horrendous, but because nobody has, there's no cookie cutter way to teach sales. It's impossible. You got to start with the person. So here's the advice I give to business owners. It's harder at the corporate level because of the bureaucracy and how mired they are in their own world. Yep.
When you are spending more time trying to solve your business's problems and less time trying to solve your client's problems, you have a problem.
Yeah. And typically that's going to happen.
100%. It's normal.
It's going to happen.
Catch
again,
yourself.
so many issues, concerns, problems, trying to build a business, entrepreneur, solopreneur, small, medium-sized businesses, you're going to run into problems. And you can't help it.
Yeah.
It's, because maybe you didn't have those bumpers in place or in the right place.
Or or there's a pandemic and all of a sudden your bumpers are irrelevant.
Right. A housing bubble, a war, regulatory changes,
a health problem. It could be more personal. It could be a health issue that pulls you out your game.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. There's too many things, they're contingencies, but you need to put in place. But it's challenging because it's like, okay, now I'm sitting here going as a business owner, I'm like, all right, now I don't know where to start.
That's the wrong question.
Which direction?
That's the wrong question.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
I'm stuck. Where do I go?
What do I do? And the answer is always reverse engineer it. The answer is always, what am I trying to accomplish?
Mm-hmm.
If you think, business is really done backwards. You watch business owners, again, every level, random acts of marketing, random acts of business, they start at step 1. You can't start at step 1. You can't start at step 1 because you have no idea what step 1 is. You have no idea what step 1 should be if you have no idea to your opening line of the only answer is a number.
But how am I going to know? If I'm going to try this marketing thing. It sounds good. The salesman tells me it's great. The ROI is outstanding and everything. So I'm going to pump some money into this and see what happens.
not the wrong way to do it. You need bumpers in your gutters, and you need KPIs, and you need metrics and measurements and fail safes to make sure we don't go too far down a rabbit hole. But again, if you don't know where it's trying to land you, you're just, the way that I describe it is you become susceptible. If you don't know enough about what you love doing, what you hate doing, what you're good at doing, what you suck at doing, what you're trying to accomplish, then you become susceptible to marketing by tacticians. Now, the tacticians aren't doing anything wrong. They're selling you, just do this one thing on Instagram, and they're not wrong. That's what they're good at. They're doing marketing. It's not, but you become susceptible to following the wrong advice if you don't know enough about your own world.
So here's my biggest pet peeve about people starting businesses. They don't write a business plan.
Or at least
or, how do you know what is your goal? Where are you trying to get? And again, it's not a number.
No, and I take the Eisenhower approach to it. When creating plans, right? What is it? I'm becoming my mother and I can't remember quotes anymore. Right. Well, how does he say it? Like, when going to war, and who are we kidding? It's business.
Oh, yeah.
When going to war, I find that plans are irrelevant, but the planning processes are invaluable.
That's it.
Your business plan is actually almost irrelevant at the end of the day, but the planning process, you can't do anything without it.
Because I always like the quote from Mike Tyson is like, everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the face.
I totally, yes.
But yeah, I say it's a pet peeve of mine that I see so many that don't write a business plan. And I don't mean you have to have a business plan in order to run a business. It's just, the business plan is fluid.
Yes.
It's just a kind of a guide. Here's where I plan to get to by the end of this time frame. And then what am I going to do in intervals of that time frame? Am I doing the right things to get to where I need to be?
And to that end, and this just made me laugh during my MBA, and I think anyone who's ever been in an MBA and maybe even college, they have you read Good to Great as part of your case studies and everything. And one of the stories in Good to Great is about getting the right people on the bus. That's fine. But the really right people won't get on a bus if they don't know where it's going.
Good point.
Where are they? What's the landing? In my new version, like the new thing that I've read it like 3 times since it came out, that 10 times is better, that is easier than two times. The new Dan Sullivan, I guess, right? That's his name, right? Strategic coach guy.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Love it.
Yep.
It's not more work. It's different work. It's not where, the fun thing about business is you get to move the puzzle pieces and create this for yourself. I think too many, we've been talking a lot of tactical, but I think the bigger miss is that people don't spend the time envisioning what's possible and getting excited about creating it. And instead, they just head down, foot in front of the next, trudge. Well,
if I do everything the way I think it should be done, right. I'm going to make $1 million.
Right. And
I'm going to build this huge business. Sam, did you have something?
I did marketing for a while for people on the side. And one of the things that I would ask them is like, do you have a campaign? And they'd be like, what do you mean? I said, Macy's, their buyers are buying the year before. They already know what their marketing is the next year out. Like,
yes.
And it's not necessarily right. And it's not, there's a difference between tactics and strategy and all that stuff, right? And messaging. And I would say to them, I said, what do your customers want 6 months from now? Not now, because that they don't even know that they really even need what you need right now. What do they need 6 months from now? What are they going to realize 6 months from now? Plan for that. That should be your cadence. is 3 to 6 months out.
Hopefully a bathing suit right now because
Yeah, right.
It is melting. It is melting.
but then we came with just in time.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
And
Well,
that
and
was brilliant.
To your point, I think you're
Short term.
absolutely right that people aren't future casting what's going on. And
Right.
they think that the way that marketing works is I go to an event, I go to a networking event, and I meet somebody and they become my client. And that's not how it works. It's like I meet somebody and then it's engage, and then they become your client. And yeah, some people jump steps, but that's the exception, not the norm. But to your point, they create a marketing effort of of an instantaneous outcome.
Well, I think with social media, it's become, used to be however many touches, right? The 7 to 10 touches before. And when you're driving around your town and you're looking at the furniture store, yeah, that's going to take a while, right? But in today's cookie cutter and microwave world, and even social media, I think our brains think on a conscious level, oh, that's so much quicker to get a client, when really it's not, because it's an emotional buying experience and they have to be aware of things and it takes time for them to admit that they need to do it, the whole 9 yards. So you can't just force feed that down people's throats.
100%. And truthfully, the online gurus out there, if you actually pay attention to them, they didn't start where they are now, and they're very transparent about it. It's just people don't like to pay attention to the work. No. So they're just seeing the Gary V's make one post that has 1 million followers, and they're not listening to him tell his story of how hard he worked to get there.
I've sat down with Frank Kern. This was a while ago, and he did a launch while we were at this workshop. He literally launched a new product. He's like, look, I'm at $600,000 for the day. It was crazy. And people were like, oh my gosh. He's like, but it took me 10 years to get there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? To be able to click that button and to make
but he makes it look so easy. It's instantaneous, which we love, right?
Right.
We don't want to take 7 to 12 steps. We want
and Bill, what you said and what I was joking about with gaining weight, what you said, it's not my fault. You got to put the work in. To your point, he said it. It took me 10 years to get there, but it is not the part that people are paying attention to.
No, it's not.
They're ignoring what's being told to them and instead just latching onto it a moment in time.
Well, let's even start from the beginning. All the Great American Walkout. We had, a lot of corporate people walk out, very smart people, very good at what they do in their marketing, their sales, or in branding and whatnot. And they think I can hang a shingle up and people are going to come banging down my door because I was senior executive vice president of global marketing for a Fortune 100 company. It's like, yeah, but your world.
Oh, wait.
And then that's I can't even put a decimal point to how small that is compared to the rest of the world.
Well, and you don't know what you don't know. So the story that I tell about this, because 2000, and I'm very transparent about it because I want people to learn, like, this is what happens. I called 2018 Aaron's year of failure. Now, I've had a very nice friend reframe that for Aaron's year of reflection, but who are we kidding? When you leave corporate making multiple six figures and you have a top 10 franchise making multiple six figures, and then in 2018, you make $11,000, that's Aaron's year of failure, because $11,000 gross is not a positive net number, okay?
You don't have to pay taxes.
No, you don't.
But
you
gotta win there.
I learned. Here's the thing that I learned to
under what, 15,000, you don't pay taxes.
Exactly, to explain what you said. I was so successful in my corporate job, accolades, bonuses. I was granted ownership shares, like yay, Aaron, yay, Aaron. And then in the franchise system, same thing, awards every year, come speak at our event, yay, Aaron. So when I really went out, when I jumped off the rest of that cliff and I really went out on my own, I'm thinking, Aaron's so brilliant, how hard could this be? And this is what I discovered. I was successful on a very narrow path that someone else designed. And all of these people leaving corporate were massively successful. I'm not diminishing how much work it took to get there.
Yeah, right.
But they were very successful on a narrow path that somebody else designed.
Why do I feel like I'm standing on the edge of a cliff right now?
Right. to the point when the bumpers were out of the gutters,
Yeah.
right? The wheels come off the bus and all hell breaks loose. Hence
The
2018.
wheels do not go round and round anymore. Once again,
By the way, those are my ideal clients because they're really good at what they do.
well, I would guess there's no shortage of those types of folks out there and who could use your help. And in that sense, we can reach, check out Erin Marcus at www.conqueryourbusiness.com. You can email her at Erin@conqueryourbusiness.com. That's CONQUER yourbusiness.com. I think you can spell that. But what an amazing resource. Again, Erin, we've had conversations. You're an amazing person, and there's just so many things out there, though. As a business owner, is this your main focus?
It is my main focus, and I wanted to say something because if you can't tell, for me, this is fun. And if you don't feel this way about your business, it's going to be really hard.
It's going to be hard on every aspect of your life.
So hard. And I'm not telling you that every day is rainbows and puppies and unicorns. I was so mad at 7:00 this morning because I found a mistake that was made that I was not happy about. But you get over it and you get back. It's got to be uplifting, fun. It doesn't have to be perfect and go exactly as planned. But if you are miserable more often than not, let's find a different way for you to do it. You don't have to give up. We got to find a different way for you to do it. Like, I am so that personal responsibility, but the empowerment side of it, I get to create whatever I want. I had this conversation with my mom this morning. My brother is miserable at his job. My best friend is miserable at her job. I mean, I know so many people who are miserable. I haven't even engaged with someone that I don't like in over 5 years.
Well, thanks. Now I know you like me.
Right? Like, that's so not in my world.
Yeah.
I'm driven by, like, you can have that.
If you're fogging a mirror and you don't know somebody who's miserable at their job, you're that ostrich you were bringing up earlier, just with your head in the sand, because so many people are, and we can sit there and say, why? If you're so miserable, why do you continue to put yourself through that? You brought up the fact that you had a friend that got let go from a job she hated.
Yeah.
And she was so upset. And it's like, why are you upset? You hated that job.
The best, right? You get to leave, which is what you wanted to do.
Yeah.
And they have to pay you unemployment.
Yeah.
And you're highly, and by the way, like, that company has a reputation for this. It's not going to harm her in any way.
Yeah.
To be looking for a job. The two people she told that day were like, he's a jerk. Yeah, come over here, I'll help. There's a whole rallying of people who hate the company that they're even more willing to help you.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough. But a generation ago, my parents, you basically had one job for life. They started learning, maybe changing jobs 2 or 3 times in a career to
max, right?
To help with the income and get a bigger raise or more money was helpful. And then my generation, like I said, when I was in the trading pits, I think we jumped like every year and a half, 2 years, businesses and companies. But nowadays things move so fast. Right. And again, the old generation, they were doing 20-year plans. You can't do a 20-year plan right now.
No.
I mean, a 5-year plan is
barely. If I would have, I'm coming up on 5 years in this business. And if I look at where I started and what I'm doing now, and you would have asked me 5 years ago to predict what, I would have never been able to predict it in a million years.
Yeah. Yeah. But you had, things in place.
Yes.
You had a structure.
Yeah.
And I know every business owner who starts a business and everything believes that they have a structure, that they have a vision, that they have a goal that they can see clearly. I've been there. And it doesn't take much of a tick of a clock for that all to fall apart, right? We're going right back to the Eisenhower planning and Mike Tyson punch in the face, because it's amazing how anything can happen. We said pandemics, housing bubbles, and inflation.
I know a guy who had a multi-million-dollar business. It was a call center, and then Do Not Call Act went, and he lost everything overnight.
Yeah. Look, we started raising interest rates, and now they say, oh my goodness, this is the highest rates in years and everything. It's like, if you look at the history of interest rates,
This is not
6.5%, 7%. Seriously?
It was
Not that big a deal.
13 when my mom bought her house.
Yeah, it was like 18% when my parents bought their first home. I think I paid like 8% my first home. And we were feeling good. I spent 16 years in interest rate futures. I understand that world inside and out. And watch out, folks. Commercial real estate is going to be hurtful, but going forward. But we'll get past it. We always do.
Yeah.
We always will. However, getting back to the bumpers, you put bumpers in place. They help protect you from things that occur that you can't control.
Yeah.
And there will always be things that will happen. Life happens, right? You talk about life insurance and selling long-term care. I mean, we were in the industry of life happens.
Well, and the other thing that I tell people is we have good gut instincts, but our feelings will lie to us.
Mm-hmm.
Our feelings will lie to us. And that is why you got to have the data. Because your instincts, right? You trust your instincts. I forgot your producer's name because I have no.
What's Sam today?
He had asked originally, like, how do you know what to do? Trust your gut instincts, but track the data so that you don't end up with your feelings lying to you about what's working and what's not working and how well it's working.
See, here's the thing. We make decisions far too much based on our emotions.
Every decision is based on emotion.
The majority of that decision is based on emotions, especially every purchase.
Right. And then it's justified. I always say it's justified with logic.
Absolutely.
The decision is emotional and then justified after you make it.
Yeah. And and hence you have the buyer's remorse that comes in and whatnot. But I love that trust your gut, because to me, your gut is your brain having a way to tell you red flag here. There's
we just don't listen. We don't listen to it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we can't get it from our brain through our mouths or to an understanding too quickly or quickly enough.
Well, here's the way that I manage that, because your thoughts go so fast. Like your brain goes so fast. I can catch a physical feeling in my body faster than a thought in my brain. And I have learned to interpret the feelings, right? So we all know this. The feeling in our body that says, don't walk down that alley, don't marry that guy, don't take that job. Yeah. This is all the same feeling. It's a clenching feeling 9 times out of 10. It's a clench somewhere in your body, right?
Yes.
But then we choose to ignore it for whatever reason.
Uh-huh.
Conversely, I also know that if my response is, I call it teenage eye rolling. If my response to having to do something is, if that's the response, I know that work has to happen, but someone else has to do it.
Good point.
Right?
Love that.
Right? That response is something that has to happen. I just can't be the one to do it. And then the third piece of my puzzle, I call buzzy roller coaster.
What's what now?
Buzzy roller coaster. And it's buzzy roller coaster. So
that your eyes squinted when you're on a coaster?
No, it's a vibration it's a buzzy vibration in my body. And when I'm in line for the roller coaster, I'm fine. When I'm on the roller coaster and we're going through the things, I'm having the time of my life. For some reason, when they put me in the slot like cattle and I'm next, I am just shaking with energy. It's excitement, not fear. It's excitement with a little bit of fear. if I'm making a decision in my business and I get buzzy roller coaster, it means it's the right thing for me to do. It's going to stretch me. It's not right. That's the stepping up into more. And if I follow those instincts, and then you got to do the work and make the plan, by the way. I mean, this is just step one.
Yeah, right.
It's
right.
dread, eye rolling, or buzzy roller coaster. What am I feeling?
I like that. Now I know where that comes from when I get near an ocean and it's deciding, do I want to go in the water with all those sharks, or do I just want to stay out here and not give them a chance?
Exactly.
But same thing in business. The business world is full of sharks, right?
Your brain is taking in so much information that you're so fast,
and you're not trained.
You got to learn for yourself. And mine is a physical feeling. I have some friends who say they actually see things. I don't see things.
This is not your phone buzzing in your pocket.
Right? No, that's different.
Yeah.
Right. Like, how is your brain? How is your instincts? How is all the knowledge that you do have? How is it talking to you? And then what are you doing with that information?
So you got to be conscious.
Observer of your own behavior.
It's an interesting topic. We could probably have a whole nother show on that.
A whole nother show on buzzy roller coaster.
Yeah, and just
to me, that's my decision, mate. That is my decision.
Is that your new book? That should be a new book.
Well, I actually did it's called Forward Momentum Method. I did a whole presentation about this because it's the tagline of my business is be in charge, take action, get results. Be in charge means make a decision. Yep. Make a decision and take responsibility. So what do? I make a decision based on those feelings. I take action, inspired, massive action. People do not take enough action. They think itty bitty action gets you big results. That's not how it works. No. And then get results, not the results you want, but any results. That's data. That's data. And then you take that data and you go back to the beginning and you make a better decision based on your instincts, based on your knowledge, based on the information that you gathered. And then this is how you just spiral your way up.
You may have made a very good trader in the pits. We had a saying, make the trade, manage the risk.
Yes.
In other words, don't sit there and try and think everything you can think of through. We had back in 87, 89, the crash then, October 19th.
Yep.
I was definitely a strong part of that. Thank you.
Good job. Way to go.
But there was a group on one of the trading floors in Chicago that were very snooty, right? They were all masters, PhDs, all that stuff. And you couldn't even get in this company unless you had a master's. And they thought they were the best. And the market comes crashing down and they go out of business. Why? Because they were book smart. And they only knew how to evaluate things and then go back and talk about it, and then what is the best course of action? Well, the market sat there and said, wait, we don't really care. We don't have the time for you. See you later. So it's kind of like those same lines. Make the trade, manage the risk, make a decision, move in a direction. And I love the fact that evaluate results.
Because you cannot think your way through any of this.
No.
Going back to what marketing, what do you do? What should the number? You can't think your way through it. You can only act your way through it.
All right, we're down to 2 minutes.
How is that possible?
Do you have? You've provided us with so many different outstanding thoughts and things to learn about and stuff. So we want to make sure everybody knows about going to the website conqueryourbusiness.com. You want to reach out to Erin, you can reach her there, conqueryourbusiness.com, or Erin at conqueryourbusiness.com. I highly recommend you reach out to her, at least for a conversation, because I've had a number of them, and everyone is it's fresh, it's new, and it's insightful.
Thank you.
But what final words would you like to leave us with?
That it's possible. If you're willing to do the work, you can absolutely get the results. Like, it's possible. I watch so many people paralyzed because they don't take the first step, like baby steps.
Yep.
It's amazing what do they the exponential result of a few flakes, right? Never underestimate the power of a few flakes, right? Well,
Right.
like you just start and it's possible. It's amazing. It is
Never, and don't underestimate. It's
Right.
hard. It's hard. Starting
That's
your own
okay.
business and building a business is the hardest thing you're ever going to do.
But we can do hard things, so that's okay.
But we're fully capable of it. Just
Fully capable.
give yourself that chance. Bring in people that can do amazing things for you and help you
And have
achieve your
fun.
goals.
And have fun
People
doing it.
like Aaron Marcus.
Thank you.
We thank you so much for coming on our show and honoring us with your presence and knowledge, experience. And I look forward to further discussions with you in the future.
Thanks, Phil. Thanks so much.
Thanks for everybody for listening in. Appreciate it. It's 216 The Net, Innovative Strategies, the business voice of Chicago. Thanks so much.